Purpose of this video is to show teachers and students who will be participating in state CDEs for the identification of materials and content and written test type CDEs, Nursery Landscape, Floriculture, Agronomy, dairy foods, to name a few. How we will distribute scorecards, fill out those scorecards, receive our exams, and of course take the identification parts of the contest. So first thing we're going to do is go over scorecards. I'm going to distribute scorecards in the chat bar. So I can put the link. Judging Card has created electronic working versions of all of their Scantrons, the paper Scantrons that we have been using for quite some time in our contests. Now have an interactive electronic version, and that's how we will distribute them. So the student clicks on this link, they'll get the scorecard. And this one is for agronomy. I haven't submitted it, so it's still filled out from what I did earlier. You can see that when I distribute the scorecards, I'll ask the students to kind of walk them through it. Please put in your chapter number, 01 for blue team, 02 for gold team, last name first, and then your first name as you want it to appear on Judging Card scores, and stop. So we will give students some time to do that. I'll ask the students to raise their hand when they're done, and the way that students will raise their hand in Teams, if we're using Teams, they'll use this raise your hand icon. If we are using Microsoft Zoom, there's a participants button. You click participants and you go from there and hover over your name and raise your hand that way. So that's how we will give out the scorecards. Next, here's how we will distribute exams. It's much the same way. I've created a prototype exam. This is not the state agronomy contest. This is a prototype. I think it's the 2015 national contest. But once everyone has lowered their hand, we will distribute the test this way. Whenever you click on the link, it should pop up in a PDF version of the exam. We will ask the students to begin. So the students view, they will go to question number 1, read the question, and they'll have to go over to their scorecard. It'll be an internet tab, and they'll put in the answer under general knowledge exam. Okay, they'll fill out their general knowledge exam here. Under no circumstances do they click any of these buttons until the entire contest is completely finished. After one finishes the exam, I'll ask them to raise their hand and leave their scorecard showing on the screen. And I'll show you in a video coming up later how I can tell when a student is finished and where we're going to set the room up for their exam where we can monitor them. I can tell if they're Googling answers in their if they finish the test early before the 30 minutes is up. If this is the only screen that's being shown, no one is allowed to use a phone and they have to sit here and wait on everyone to finish. This is what we will do to make sure that there's no cheating and that everyone is on the same page. All students will be required to be monitored by a separate device or computer and logged into either Zoom or Microsoft Teams so that we can see their other screen in persons. We've got classroom examples coming up where you can do that with up to 4 students and follow social distancing guidelines at the same time. There's just enough room to see the screen. We're going to be very regimented and have everyone leave this showing after they have finished their exam. There will be no phones. We'll make students turn off their phones on camera and place it on a table aside the room. We'll use a monitoring camera to make sure there's no other folks in the room. And they will have to leave their microphones active the entire time so that we can make sure there's no talking across the room. We'll also turn off the chat option for students where they can only use the chat bar to receive these documents, but they can't chat with one another. All right, so after we've finished the written exam, we'll probably take it first to keep everybody on the same page. We will move on to distributing or displaying the PowerPoint. Now the PowerPoint will not be distributed, it will be displayed on my screen, and I will follow the rules that the CDE board has put forth. Put it here and present this screen. So we will have staff members monitoring the students as I scroll through the PowerPoint. I'll put number 1 up here. And so this is just an example. By the way, I put 1 or 2 on the PowerPoint. Students will toggle over to their scorecard, and under plant, rotate it here. Under plants, we will type in watermelon. This brings me to a very, very important point for teachers. I can put the plant and insect list numbers in the chat bar. If I can get it to copy. I can put the plant and insect list in the chat bar. Students can access these numbers in an electronic format, which some students may prefer it this way. Watermelon is not even a choice. Okay, let's pretend that number 1, or maybe it was. Yeah, it's a choice. I thought it was. It's on the crop list. Watermelon is 231, so I have to flip back over to the digital card and bubble in 2, 3, 1 for number 1. So students can toggle back and forth. I can give them the plant list this way, or you can have it printed out and on the table. If they're in a classroom setting, you can print it out and send it home with them. If they're in a home setting, I think having a paper printout of these numbers is a little less cumbersome. Toggling back and forth with the electronic age, these students may not. They may feel more comfortable with it in an electronic format. Regardless of that situation, regardless of preference, we will distribute it to students the day of the contest through the chat bar, but you are more than welcome to have it in their hand prior to the contest and prior to the teacher leaving the room. So go to number 2 on the PowerPoint. With this, we'll move over into the disorders practicum. We'll display that for the number of seconds that the CDE board has written down for their virtual rules. Student will go to the scorecard that under the disorder scorecard that was I don't know, biological fungus. It was actually rust, and it was on a vegetative part. So I believe that's right. That's what they do for number 1, and we'll have 10 of those. And then for insects, I'm probably going to get this one wrong, but I'll show it anyway. We'll go back to the PowerPoint. I'll display that. So we'll get through plant ID. Of course, there are 30 of those. There are 10 disorders. We'll do the 10 insects. 1, this is a cucumber beetle. So we'll go back to the scorecard. The student will go to the insects, have to pull up the plant and insect list, a cucumber beetle. It's not spotted cucumber beetle, number 42. We'll go to the card here. The first digit is a 4. Second digit is a 2, 42. That is fruit and flower destructor, I think. Probably has a complete life cycle. And has a chewing mouth part. That would be my guess. I don't know if that's the official answer. I'll make sure that the key is correct, obviously, before the contest starts and have it submitted. That's how the students would fill out the 10 insects. And that's all we'll do. We'll do equipment ID, crop ID, plant ID. We'll do agronomic disorders. We'll do insect identification and general knowledge exam. Once the student has completed all the practicums, there are no issues if no one has missed anything or gotten kicked out of the software and had to come back on, missed 2 or 3. If that happens, we'll give that student an opportunity to go back and see only the ones that they didn't get. But once a student is finished, I'm going to ask them to raise their hand. If they're ready to submit the card and there are no issues, I'm going to ask them to raise their hand. If everybody's hand is raised, I'm going to tell those people who have their hand raised to submit their scorecard. They will go here and click Submit Form. If all of this is filled out correctly, their scorecard will go into the electronic system just as if we scanned it through the Scantron reader like we do in a live contest. For students that missed, say, nobody should miss the exam because we're going to distribute that to them. But let's say somebody got kicked out and we didn't stop. Whenever that person, their bandwidth dropped out and they had to come back into the event, let's just say they missed number 8, 9, and 10 for agronomic disorders. I'm going to ask them to share that with me. Let me see that on their scorecard through the software, confirm that they missed it. I will go back through the PowerPoint and try to show it to them again, and we'll try to get everyone caught up on the same page. I highly recommend that if you can get students especially students who don't have good service at home, if you can get them where they've got the best service in the parish, or if they can come to school, that would be preferred. But we're not going to say that everybody has to, because obviously there are different situations out there that prevent students from coming to the school. But the best way to do this would be to have all 4 students or 3 students, however many are on your team, in the classroom. We'll show some videos how we want folks to be monitored through the extra laptop. If you got a team of 4, you're going to have 5 laptops because you're going to use one to monitor the kids while they take the exam, and we're going to produce a separate video so as not to produce an extremely long one explaining every step of the way. But as far as distribution of materials for these type contests, how are we going to score it and scan it and maintain the highest fidelity we possibly can? That's the purpose of this one, and I hope we accomplish it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and we'll address that as fast as we can. Thank you, and have a great day.